what I'd like to do is the way we structure this podcast is really to start by framing what is the creative economy. And then we'll get into a discussion on art in our lives, what has been the role of government, what's art in our communities, and ways that people can engage. So I'd like to start by framing the creative economy. And Janice, when you heard that word creative economy, is that how you think about the art and the creative ecosystem, or you call it more the creative ecosystem? I just love your reaction to this concept of creative economy, because it takes people by surprise sometimes.
Well, the concept of the creative economy to me has always been about dimension. Usually when you talk about economy, people directly speak to just fiscal assets, right? Just fiscal economic assets. But when I think about the creative economy, I believe that there's just so much more. When you're talking about the creative economy, you're not just talking about, money, of course, although that has a lot of impact. You're talking about development. You're talking about ideas. You're talking about creative networks of individuals that are using their thoughts and their ideals to potentially solve challenges that affect the entire whole. You're not just talking about, an artist having an exhibition in a gallery. You're talking about arts integration into the public way and the value of that, and how that impacts tourism, how that impacts the quality of life, of anyone from any sector that lives in a particular area. And so the creative economy is to me not just the ecosystem that directly is developed by and or affects artists specifically, but really more so looking at both economically and other ways of accounting for assets, looking at the entire spectrum of the impact of creativity within a given space as a whole.
Yeah, and just for our audience, this term, the creative economy, really came out of a book in 2001 by John Hawkins called The Creative Economy: How People Make Money from Ideas. And I think one component about the creative economy and the art process is, in an open economy, you create a creator creates good that that meets the demand of an audience, of a marketplace, consumers. And art is really that, and because it touches everything. There's different industries, there's different ways of looking at art, right? And I think in this brief here, it's characterized as the heritage industries that are more like traditional cultural expressions, festivals, museums. There's visual arts and performing arts, like what we think narrowly about art. But then there's also media. There's books, writers, audiovisual, even new media, digital content, video games. Those are all part of the creative industry. And then there's all the functional creations. There's design, interior, graphics, fashion, jewelry, even toys can be considered as artistic creation. And then there's all the services, architecture, advertising, some research and development and creative, and then cultural and digital services, distribution components. So when we start to think about it, it really, as you said, touches every dimension of our life. It touches then how we live and connect as human, because it's uniquely human, the human expression. So I think it's a great way to define it.
Absolutely. I mean, and if I may here, you said, every aspect of our lives. Yes. I mean, and think about it this way, if we really look at it, if we were to really look at it, not just, directly, specifically design or visual arts and performance, but if we were to look at it in an abstraction, then the question is, what is not art? And I think I do understand that there's an importance to really categorize things in a more solid way, so that they can fit inside these more traditional funding models, and things like that. But, when you really think about it, whether it's graphic design, to even strategic planning, part of my career, a great deal of it has always been around, cultural planning, strategic planning related to arts and culture. And a lot of those strategies are rooted in knowledge of finance or business development, or marketing. But all of those things directly impact the arts and other industries. So I really think that, if we just allow ourselves as people to accept the fact that we live in a more creative world than not, creativity and arts are not the abstract, the aside, the icing on the cake. That's not what the arts is. The arts is it's a critical and necessary part of our human daily interaction and infrastructure. It's what sets us apart from not just country to country or city to city, but from home to home and from person to person. The way that we dress ourselves, we have the ability to dress ourselves, the way we wear our hair, all of these are creative and artistic expressions. It's only when you get to a space where people are needing to place creativity, arts, and contributions into models, relegate them into different models where we're able to determine who is worthy or what is worthy of funding in one way or another, is that you start to pull it apart. But in its purest sense, we are consistently every day engaging in and responding to the creative arts.